Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing well. If you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure that you click that subscribe button. I've got lots more videos planned very soon, so please all stay tuned. Now, a few months ago, I did a video on BBR discussing why they are re-releasing some of their resin models in diecast. And that video did quite well. It got a number of comments. I think it's probably my most commented on video so far this year. So if you haven't yet checked that out, I'll leave a link in the description for that video. So it kind of gave me a bit of fuel for thought for today's video. I'm still discussing BBR, but rather than discussing why they are re-releasing the exact same resin models that they made maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago in diecast, I thought I would do a comparison between BBR resin and BBR diecast. Now, it's important to note, I suppose, before we start the comparison, that this BBR diecast model is not one of their recent diecast models that they've made. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the BBR website at the moment. They are starting to make a number of diecast models. So they've made the diecast LaFerrari, the Aperta, and I believe they're kind of working their way down that Ferrari line, and probably Pagani might be next too. So they are making fully opening 1/18 scale model cars now, BBR. So they are not just a resin car manufacturer like maybe a few years ago, but this one is maybe about 15 years old now. So this is one of their early attempts of making a fully opening 1/18 scale model car. And in my eyes, and I think many other collectors' eyes, I think this is almost the pinnacle in terms of 1/18 diecast model cars, in terms of detail, in terms of rarity, and just in terms of having a very bespoke, very amazingly detailed 1/18 scale model car in my eyes. But should you be buying the BBR diecast models, or should you be buying the resin models? So let's take these models out the box. So we've got both models out of the box. Now I think it is important to note that if you do buy a new BBR diecast model today, it does come on pretty much the exact same base as the resin models. So exactly the same as the one on the LaFerrari. So you get a really nice leather base with kind of the name on the side, and then you get the limited edition plaque at the rear as well. So that is important to note, but that wasn't around at the time that the BBR made the Enzo. But what they did bring, or what they did kind of come with the model, is you do get a really nice kind of little booklet on what you can kind of take off on the model. And this model is so highly detailed that you can even remove the wheels to expose the calipers, the discs. So it is really highly detailed, and it comes with an extra luggage kit. It comes with that wheel toolkit and the engine prop holder as well. So it does come with a really nice set, and some models even come with a little car cover too. My red one did come with a car cover, which again is, you know, it's not really necessary, but again it's really cool for the models to come with these little features. Whereas on the resin models, it doesn't really come with anything. So it's literally just the box. Now you can opt to have it with the plexiglass display case if you so wish. I didn't at the time of buying the LaFerrari, but that is something that I would highly recommend to all you guys who are looking to buy a resin model. I know it's an extra 30 euros, but it is definitely worth it. And that is something that I have done ever since I bought the LaFerrari. And every other resin model I have opted for the protective case. So let's kind of do a quick discussion over the exterior of both of the models. Now I think it is important to note that the resin model, the exterior, is probably hands down a lot better than the diecast version. The way that the kind of paint is finished on the resin model, now BBR have always been very flawless with their exterior. It's always been kind of second to none. The look of the model is absolutely amazing. The paint works great, and the whole kind of presence of the model is really good. The diecast version is still very good in terms of the exterior, but again, these models maybe 10-15 years ago, I don't think processes were quite as refined as what they are today. Because I know paint on these older BBR models are prone to rashes, and my one has got a couple of small rashes scattered around kind of the roof and the engine bay. But again, that you can polish them out. I haven't yet attempted it yet. Not sure if, I need to kind of find out how to do it properly, but you definitely can work around that. But considering this is a fully opening die cast model, I mean, all of the shut lines are really nice, really neat, very, very minimalistic, almost like a resin model too. So exterior on the die cast version is still very, very good. Obviously, you've got to be very careful when you start opening up different compartments, and when we get to some of that detail as well, I'll show you guys how to do that. But in terms of hands down exterior details, I have to hand it to BBR Resin, and they always do a great job when it comes to this level of detail. But let's take a look at the rear of the models and discuss the detail there. Now, even though that the LaFerrari is the resin version, BBR still do a very, very good job with showing you guys most of the engine detail. So they've still left a good amount of the engine visible, and they've still shown really high levels of detail on that exposed bit of engine. So you can still see some level of there's quite some depth there to it as well of the engine. And I think overall, they've just done enough to kind of make the model look really good, but obviously it's kind of in no comparison to what the die cast model can bring as well. So firstly, without even opening up the engine bay, you can still see a significant amount more than the resin version. So it's still a very, very highly detailed kind of view into that engine bay. And what BBR have done, obviously, because this is a fully opening die cast model, is you can open up the engine bay, which I'll show you guys now with the engine bay prop. So if you open up the whole rear clam of the model, comes up like that, and then you've got the engine prop stick. So the bottom kind of slots in between those two working suspension mounts. See it there, and then the square bit does slot into the roof just like that. You've got to make sure that they are in position just so the prop is sitting correctly, and then it opens up kind of a whole world of just amazing detail here. So if we kind of just take a better look at this amazing engine bay, now it's probably definitely a work of art. It's definitely up there with the Auto Art version, so some of the Auto Art signature Zondas, it's up to that level. I'd probably put this a little bit higher than the Auto Art version. You know, it's so highly detailed that you can even see some of the stickers on the rear wheel arches as well. The carbon fiber finish, the depth to the engine is absolutely amazing. It goes really far down in there as well, and they've left no stone unturned. So even the I believe this is the oil cap. You've got the Ferrari badge on it. You've got the Ferrari badge on the petrol filler clap as well. So it's all very, very highly detailed. And BBR have really left kind of no stone unturned with this engine bay. They've really done an exceptional job replicating the Enzo's amazing detail and engine bay. So it's really kind of second to none that the diecast wins. So it's absolutely amazing, the level of detail here as well. And just to remove it again, you just kind of lift up the top of the engine, pick up the prop, and then the whole thing drops down. And even the hinges that mount the engine bay is still really nicely done. It's so like realistic and exactly like the real thing. So you kind of slot that back down there. Now, in terms of exclusivity and rarity, BBR did make, I think they limited each model to around 1,000 or 1,500 pieces. So I think the black one's limited to around 1,500 pieces, whereas the resin model, or this one in particular, is limited to 99 pieces. So resin models have always been very kind of low numbers off the production line. 99 is probably quite the kind of normal range for a resin model. I've had some as low as 49 and some as high as 499. So that is kind of a typical range for a resin model. But they did make the LaFerrari and other models in loads of different colors and loads of different specs. So I think if you add them all up, it's definitely more than the 1500 or so with the Enzo. Again, black's quite a rare color, and they made the one in yellow, red, obviously black, and they made a couple of test ones, so the test Monza one too in matte black. But again, I think for me, in terms of overall detail that you can see, the BBR diecast version just is in another world compared to the resin examples. Now, I think with resin, they can kind of show you the best details in terms of the exterior and finishes, but in terms of going deeper into that, the diecast versions are just an absolute must. They kind of take the resin models and they kind of almost transform them. There's almost another world of detail underneath all of the different body panels when you start to open up the model, and that's why I think diecast models are definitely coming into a new light now. And that's why BBR are really starting to push making diecast models or fully opening models over their resin models. They're almost kind of prioritizing fully opening models now over resin models. It's definitely all over their website. You can just buy a opening diecast model right now. But let's take a look around the front end of the model. So in terms of a kind of conclusion between these two models, I suppose the resin models, now for me, I've got a couple of resin models on pre-order, but really after that, I'm probably not looking at buying any more resin models at the moment. I think that, there'll always be a market for resin models moving forward, and there'll always be collectors out there that prefer resin models over the diecast models. But I think even the manufacturers now are realizing that the diecast models, the diecast 1/18 scale models, are more desirable, more collectible than their resin counterparts, and that's why we're starting to see that shift in terms of BBR making these fully opening diecast models over their resin models. I think they'll always still make resin models, but I think it'll be a more equal split now. So there'll be 50% opening bodies, 50% resin models now, rather than a few years ago it was just resin model cars. I think if we're looking at diecast models, they will always be more desirable, more collectible, and definitely hold their value a lot better than their resin models. Now, obviously this varies, it depends on what models, but in terms of this one, I paid £300 for this model about 5-6 years ago, 2017-ish, I think I bought this car. Might be 16, but yeah, I paid around £300 for this model car, and I don't think I've lost any money on this model car. There's none for sale on eBay in black within the UK, or I don't even think in Europe. They are so rare, and the rarer the model, obviously the more expensive, the more desirable, the more exclusive it is. Whereas the resin models, even though this is got a lower production run than the Enzo, you can pretty much just go on eBay or another diecast exchange website and pick up a LaFerrari in resin. It's relatively easy to do. They do hold their values, and some resin models do hold their values, but I think the diecast versions definitely are a bit more of a safer bet if you want to put your money into. Now, saying that, I'm not sure about the new BBR diecast or opening body models. Now, be very keen to hear from you guys in the comments below if the new models match the same level of detail as their older models like the Enzo and the F430. If they do, then it's definitely a good place to put your money into. Really high quality opening 1/18 scale model cars, which is something that's kind of dying out at the moment. LCD are bringing out some great examples of that at the moment too. So there's definitely a small gap in the market there that I think BBR have noticed and trying to fill with their versions of opening body cars. So I would be quite keen to get an LCD model in, do a review, do a couple of comparison videos. That'll be quite an interesting video, and I am on the lookout for an LCD model, so hopefully that'll be kind of a video that will be done very, very soon, so please all stay tuned for that. But for me, in terms of these two, a showdown between these two, I would always pick the diecast versions over the resin models. I would always keep the diecast versions, and I would always be a little bit more apprehensive about the resin models. For me, that's why I probably putting this one up for sale at the moment. I mean, I've got the Aperta version too, but I haven't really kept that kind of passion in terms of this model over this model. This model I feel a bit more connected to. I feel like it's just a bit more of a better overall piece compared to the LaFerrari resin. But I mean, really the purpose of this video is to hear from you guys in the comments. I know this is a kind of a good topic of conversation, and it does leave lots of comments. So as I say, really keen to hear from everyone in the comments below. Let me know what you all think. But yeah, please all subscribe, please like, any suggestions that you want to see on the channel, please do let me know, and I'll see you guys very, very soon for lots more videos to come. Cheers, bye.